It's Game Versus, the show where we take a game and pit it against itself in a battle to the finish. Today, Galaxy Force 2, Mega Drive versus FM Town versus Sega Saturn.
Galaxy Force 2 is actually just Galaxy Force with a few tweaks. Released in arcades in 1988, home versions of the Afterburner in Space style arcade game have been released for the Sega Master System, Genesis, FM Towns and Amstrad home computers, the Sega Saturn, PlayStation 2, and more.
First up, Mega Drive.
The Mega Drive, or Genesis version of Galaxy Force 2, is nothing special to look at. Starting players off with a sparse level select screen, it unceremoniously launches you into your chosen starting stage. According to the Mega Drive, space must be a pretty sparse place. Enemies attack you in sporadic formations. Gone are the waves of invaders from the arcade. Additionally, structures are few and far between. Enemy bases resemble something out of a Commodore 64 game. Multiple moving targets are kept to a minimum to avoid too much slowdown. In later levels, things heat up, resulting in plenty of flicker, although pop-up is kept to a minimum. The controls are precise, but the hip space jazz soundtrack of the arcade has been replaced with generic chiptunes. Galaxy Force 2 on the Mega Drive is nothing to write home about.
Next, FM Towns.
The FM Towns port of Galaxy Force 2, released in 1990, greets players with a stage select screen that looks almost ripped from the arcade. Also returning is the voice of the ship's pilot as he reads his pre-flight checklist.
Check. Weather. Check. Ground troops clear. Check. Seatbelt fastened. Check.
Immediately, the musical score makes an impression. The edge here goes to the game being on CD, remixed from the arcade. Graphics are pronounced and colorful, but don't extend to the full screen. Playing the game on the FM Towns Marty requires letterboxing for certain games designed to be displayed on a computer monitor. While the game provides plenty of action, the strain of pushing so many pixels can quickly bring gameplay to a screeching halt. Although not as detailed as the arcade, the FM Towns version of Galaxy Force 2 at least brings the arcade feeling into the home, even if it does hit a few snags along the way.
Grudge Match! Mega Drive versus FM Towns. Next, Sega Saturn!
Part of the Sega Ages collection, the Sega Saturn version of Galaxy Force 2 begins with a more robust selection menu, adding the feature of replay mode allowing you to relive your past missions.
Starship Command to destroyers. Begin takeoff countdown.
The stage select screen is very similar to the arcade, although the audio seems a bit muddy.
Control check.
Right off the bat, we're hit with more detail than any previous home version of the game. But a startling decision has been made to draw the pixel graphics on translucent polygons, giving it that dirty, early 32-bit polygon look that plagues so many of the Saturn's releases. It's a strange move, too, as the Sega Saturn proved to be a pixel-pushing powerhouse. Overworld levels are much more varied and colorful, and enemy fortresses now feature a closer look to the original, as well as branching paths, a first for a console version. Also new to the Saturn port is the use of the left and right shoulder buttons to control the speed of your ship, allowing you to more accurately navigate in tight places. Or not. Despite the graphical upgrade, the controls for the Sega Saturn leave something to be desired.
Extra energy.
Galaxy Force 2 for the Sega Saturn, a good port that should have been better.
Grudge Match! FM Towns versus Sega Saturn! Champion! Sega Saturn!
Yes, the Sega Saturn narrowly edges out the FM Towns for the win. Although the Towns version of Galaxy Force 2 has superior controls and sound, the more detailed graphics, branching paths, and harder difficulty give Sega's 32-bit machine the edge. But just barely.
Now stop staring at your computer and go play a video game!